Hello and welcome to the video. This is a quick video to cover a topic that I get asked about quite a lot, and it's usually from people who are relatively new into the hobby that are looking to increase the flight time of their quad, their wing or their plane. And the usual question that I get is, how big a battery can I use? For something like this quad, I would probably stick on, this is designed for a 4S battery. I'd probably use something like a 4S 1500 pack, something like that for it. However, when you're starting out, you think, well, why can't I just put the biggest battery I can physically fit on it? And the simple answer is, you can't. But how do you know how big a battery you can take to put on something like your quad, your wing or your plane? And there's a couple of ways you can find out. And that's what this video is all about, to help those of you that are relatively new to this figure out how big a battery will fit. Now, ultimately, this all boils down to weight. Quadcopters will usually hover at less than 50% throttle. Back in the very, very early days when we were all building these things many, many years ago, we kind of aimed for around 50% throttle for it to hover. However, modern quads will hover at a much lower amount of thrust. So typically anything from 25 to 45% throttle is going to get the thing hovering in the air. And if you're willing to accept a higher mid throttle position or hover throttle, then you can absolutely add a little bit more weight. However, larger batteries might give you more energy with which to fly, but they also weigh more too. And that's also the case if you go from things like 4S batteries to 6S batteries. You'll find that the additional cells inside the battery are going to cause it to weigh a lot more. And because of that additional weight that has to be carried by the vehicle, and this is the same whether or not it's a quad, a wing or a plane, that does mean that the flight performance is going to be affected. Something like a quad, it means it's going to feel more sluggish, it's not going to be as nimble or as quick, but similarly it's also going to use more current, more power to stay flying because of the extra weight it's got on it. The other thing, of course, is that sometimes there's a limited amount of space on the model to actually fit the physical battery. So sometimes that's a limitation. On quads, a lot of the modern quads like to put their batteries on the top. However, old schoolers like me are quite happy to put the batteries on the bottom, so long as there's a nice safe place to land, that you won't necessarily land on a sharp rock or something that's going to puncture the battery and cause you to have a very bad day. There tends to be a lot more room underneath a quad where you can put a larger battery versus on the top. So that's always an option. However, in a plane, and we'll talk about this in a little bit more detail in a moment, center of gravity is really important. In a quad, it's supposed to balance in the middle of the arms. Most of us don't check that. We just put the battery on and off we go. With a plane or a wing, center of gravity is really important. And there is a battery bay built into that wing or plane, and that gives you only a certain amount of latitude to move the battery forwards and backwards. If it's a heavier battery, you want it more rearward towards the centre of gravity. If it's a lighter battery, you're going to want it as far forward as you can to absolutely get it on that CG point. The other thing I'll talk about is I have done a whole series about motors and props. Getting longer flight times with a quad is as much about making sure it's an efficient motor and prop setup as it is about putting a great whacking battery on it. And that's because if you can get an efficient setup, you can dramatically reduce the amount of power that the model uses in order to hover, fly around and perform maneuvers. And it can be startlingly different. The golden rule is that larger props with lower kV motors typically will provide the same amount of thrust or lift, but do it much more efficiently. I have a motor and prop series I'll link down below that kind of goes into more detail, and that's why you tend to find a lot of these Explorer class quads typically are 7, 8, 9, 10 inches, and that's because those larger props can produce the lift they need far more efficiently, and that efficiency equals longer flight times with the same battery. So using a bit of maths, sorry, we're going to use maths again, we can figure out what the maximum weight is that a quad like this might be happy with. And let's just use a theoretical example. So let's assume that this quad weighs about 270 grams and the battery that I normally use it with is about 200 grams. So with its flying together, when the battery's installed and it's hovering around, it's hovering at about 470 grams at about 33% throttle. Now that's a nice level of throttle. Typically, like a quarter throttle hover is usually where you're going to get really aggressive quads. A third throttle is a nice position for quick, nimble, agile quads. Anything up to kind of 45% is then, kind of regular quads. You will find, for example, that things like VTOL models will kind of hover at kind of 60 or 65% throttle, and that's because the hover stage of a VTOL isn't about flying around, it's literally just ascending and descending from the sky. So because this thing is hovering at 33% throttle, if we are happy to sacrifice some of its performance, we know that we've actually got a little bit more wiggle room. If we want it to hover roughly about 45% throttle, which is the maximum that I personally would go for, then we can do a bit of maths. If we divide 45 by 33, we get 1.36. So now we know that if we wanted to hover at 45% throttle, if we multiply the all-up weight, that 470 grams, by that 1.36, we get the new maximum weight that we can use. So now we know that this thing-ish, right? Because there's a lot of assumptions being made here about linear thrust curves and all kinds of stuff. And for those of you that have been in the hobby a long time, caveat, 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 I appreciate I am simplifying this for the new pilots. But let's assume that the 640 grams is the maximum weight that we've got. If we take off the 270 grams of the model itself, then that leaves the maximum battery weight we can handle, and that is going to be about 370 grams. So I'm going to look for a battery that weighs 370 grams with the leads and the connector and everything on it as well. Be careful when you're ordering batteries from places online. They tend to be a bit fast and loose with the actual weights. So I would give yourself a little bit of wiggle room. I'd order one that weighed 360 grams, because by the time you get it, they usually measure it without things like the connector on and stuff, and they're not clear about that. So that's how I would do it. Again, the higher the hover throttle, 45% is the very upper level, but maybe it's hovering at 33 and maybe you only want it to hover at something like 40% throttle. You can use the same maths, get the ratio of 40 and 33, and then figure it out, the rest of it, and you'll figure out how much heavier the battery can be. So quads are doable, but that's the way that I would personally kind of figure it out. What about wings and planes? Well, I think that wings and planes are actually an awful lot easier because I said at the beginning, there's a physical space where you have to put the battery, and there's also a CG point that you have to be able to balance the model on. And you can just put weights in the nose of the battery. If you put it towards the very back of the battery bay, if you put weights in there, you'll get a rough idea of how heavy the battery is that you can cope with. Once you know that, you can look online, look for the right number of cells for that particular model. It's either going to be something like a 4S battery or a 6S typically in modern machines. Find the weight that you need and then order it. Again, I would always go a little bit under what you think you need, because typically when you get the battery, it could be sometimes a little bit heavier than advertised. So planes and wings are pretty easy and straightforward, and because you have the ability to move the weight forwards and backwards, it's going to be pretty simple. I have seen people who, when they want to use a really big heavy battery with a model, put weights at the very back of the model in order to counterbalance everything to get that center of gravity. Personally, I wouldn't recommend that. I think that if that's what you want to do, you're trying to do it with the wrong model. I would go and find another one that will take those larger batteries. Some wings and planes are designed to have really big batteries in the nose. Things like the Argus FPV Rock VTOL will take this whopping 7500C battery in the nose, pretty much fill the whole entire battery bay, but it will fit it. Other models, this is just way too heavy. I wouldn't stand a chance. So finally, a couple of top tips. Lighter, in my humble opinion, is always better when it comes to flying models. They will fly better, they will float better, and they will produce the efficiency in flight a lot easier too if they're not carrying around a big load of heavy dead weight. Higher C batteries can be useful because you have less losses in them. So if you have old batteries that you're having to use more and more throttle to fly around in, then by just replacing them with newer batteries that are happier but also have a higher C rating can actually extend your flight time a little bit because you haven't got those losses inside the pack. Don't forget about different batteries technology. There is LiHV, there's lithium ion, there's lots of different options kicking around now. Now don't forget, I would always match the battery with the quad or the plane. So if it's built for 4S, always use a 4S battery, but you could try a 4S lithium ion if the current draw is low enough. Lithium ion is a more dense battery technology, so you get more milliamp hours in the same weight. However, you typically can't pull that out as quickly, so the C ratings are a lot lower. That's why they tend to have specific custom models designed for lithium ion to kind of take that into account. You can, if the ESC's motors and props are designed to take it, also increase the number of cells. Rather than increase the overall battery, rather than use a 1500 4S, go for something like an 1100 6S. Sometimes that can give you a longer flight time. The 6S battery is typically going to be the same weight, if not a little bit heavier, but because of the way that power works, as the voltage goes up, the current that's being pulled goes down. It's a bit of a trade-off. I personally like, for endurance quads, a 4S setup. 4S lithium ion packs, so 21700 and things like that are easier to get hold of. And my last top tip is, when you do have a battery that you really like that's flying well, particularly in things like a flying wing, just mark the position inside the canopy where that battery needs to sit, and then when you come to fly it next time, you can pop that battery exactly where it needs to be and you'll be spot on for your central gravity. So hopefully that has been useful for those of you that ask me on a regular basis, what's the biggest battery I can put on there? The answer really relies on the model, how you want to fly it, what it currently performs like, and what you're willing to sacrifice with additional weight in terms of flight characteristics. So hopefully that's useful, and now you have an idea. If you have a quad and you're looking to extend the flight time, you have some thoughts, or if you have a wing or a plane, you kind of have a rough idea of how to do that too. Again, links to my motor and prop series that I did with Marcus from eCalc is down below. That's a fantastic resource if you want to kind of play with stuff, but it also explains a lot more about the physics behind motors and props, thrust and efficiency, without getting to PhD level. I learned a lot doing that with Marcus, and hopefully by watching that you will too. Thank you for watching my video. Check out the playlist, and adding Painless 360 to your search terms will help you find my content. If you haven't done so already, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. You can support the time I spend here answering questions and helping others by using the links in the video description.